Hello and welcome to your Team DSI Advanced Training Call. My name is Jared Krebs. I'm pictured here with my wife, Crystal. We're Emerald Directors, co-founders of Team DSI. And I want to acknowledge you for being on this Wednesday afternoon call. Not everybody takes their business this seriously, and you do. And the fact that you're on this call says a lot about you and what you're doing with your business, and not only what you're doing, but how you're improving your communities by introducing them to USANA and giving your fellow human beings a chance for better health and for better finances and for this great community. You are the people that are improving our society and improving our world. And I just want to remind everyone before we get started with today's guest trainer is that amateurs sell products, professionals sell the vision. So I want to encourage you that when you're out there, creating clients, that you invite your clients onto this webinar. This webinar is open to anybody to get on and hear a story from somebody who's become very successful with USANA and how their business and being on the products has improved their life. And when you sell the vision, then that means that a lot of times your clients will upgrade and become associates. And not only that, but it's just about creating this community, this great group of people. And there's no one better at doing that than Mr. Jay Leman. Jay is a diamond director in USANA. He is a great friend of mine. I have watched him grow over the years. In fact, when Jay started in the business, I was already a Ruby director, and he's just gone on through all the ranks. I've watched him just grow and grow and grow and inspire so many people. He's actually a retired former NFL player. And Jay, I just want to thank you for being such a great friend over all these years. Thank you for being such a great inspiration to the USANA family. And thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to share your USANA story. We want to hear everything today about what your life was like before USANA, and what were the challenges maybe in the NFL, and how was your health affected, and then what happened when you started USANA? How did the products improve your life? Also, what was maybe the biggest challenges in your USANA business that you've had to overcome, and what's your life like today thanks to your USANA business? And we'll open it up for questions about 20 minutes through. But without further ado, I'm going to take off my screen share and bring on Mr. Jay Leman. Thank you for being on.
Hey, Jared, thank you so much. I appreciate it, bud. Thanks for the kind words. And, to be honest, you're going to have to keep me true and I hit on everything that you wanted me to say.
Okay.
Because there was a lot left in there. Make sure, if you guys can, if you're in a position to, I always like to see people's faces. So I see a lot of blacked out.
Oh, we actually take people off. We don't have their faces on because it's distracting. At least that's how we've done it in the past. So,
well, it's fine with me. With an advanced leader call, for me, it's about looking people in the eye and knowing knowing that you guys are engaged. I think we all can do whatever we want. There we go. Take the glasses off there, brother. Thanks, Jared.
Let's do it.
Yeah, this is an advanced call. I'm not going to take much of your time. You can limit distractions. I feel like I'm talking to a blank computer screen. And to me, when you're a guy that's about passion and about connecting with people, I just can't do it. So I appreciate you guys helping me on this. So I want to get into my story. My name is Jay. I grew up in rural Illinois, so Champaign, Illinois, which is in the middle of the state. My boy Jason Hander, what's up? Michael Baez. Are you related to Javi Baez of the Cubs? Yes. We're watching the Cubs. My Cubs are down 0-3 to the Dodgers, man. Cubs country. It's bad. It's bad ball right now. Bad ball. But
get some water. One sec.
So I grew up in central Illinois. Yeah, you can free to get up. I'm not like a Nazi about you can't get up. I just want to see your face. I know you got a life behind it, and I do the same things, right? You need to text somebody. I don't care. I just want to see that you're alive. You're not just robots. So I grew up in Champaign, Illinois. My parents are both pastors. So a little story here. My mom and dad didn't want anything to do with God at all. In fact, they grew up in legalistic Christian homes where people couldn't play sports. and, men and women had to sit apart from each other, and really burnt them out on God and Jesus and all that. And my dad basically disowned the faith, walked away, got kicked out of his own church. And when he married my mom, he said, "I'll marry you on 3 conditions," because she was coming out of the same church in a different area. And it was, hey, I'm never going to be a Christian. I'm never going to be a pastor, because his dad was a pastor. And I'm never going to go back and work on the farm. And she said, "Sure, I don't want any of those things anyway." Well, lo and behold, 6 or 7 years into marriage, my mom was unable to have children. And she was just devastated. She wanted to be a mom. And one day, a guy that was working with my dad came into his office and said, "Hey, do you know that Jesus still does miracles?" He's like, "Get out of here, man. I don't believe in Jesus. He might have done some stuff a long time ago, but the Jesus that I grew up in my church, man, he didn't do any of that stuff." He said, "No, he does miracles." And through that conversation, my dad's heart began to soften a little bit, and through the fact that he couldn't have children. And so my mom started praying that she would be healed to have children. And she ended up getting on the adoption list. And about 3 or 4 days before they were going to actually get, confirmed to get their first child as a match, she felt God say, "Why are you on the adoption list?" She said, "Well, God, you're for adoption and whatnot." And she said, she felt like God said, "But why are you on the adoption list? Tell me you asked me for your own baby." And she said, "Yeah." So much to my grandparents' chagrin, she got off the adoption list and said, "I'm going to believe that God's going to give me a baby." And about 9 months later, my oldest brother was born. And they were so amazed, because my mom was told that she would never able to have children. She went to Northwestern Medicine here in Northwestern University. It's a big hospital up here in the Chicago area. But they were so blown away that they said, "We got to tell people that Jesus Christ still heals today." And so they started a church with 4 people in their home, themselves, my aunt and uncle, in 1979. My dad was working in the insurance business at that time, and my mom was a teacher. And within 4 or 5 years, they had both quit their jobs full time, and they ran a church. And that church now has 3,000 people today in Central Illinois. And so I grew up believing in miracles. I grew up believing that, Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And when people ask me to share my story and I have more time, I have to share that section of it, because it's so foundational to who I am. And when I was born in 1985, and it was really apparent that our life verse was Matthew 6:33. Matthew 6:33 says this. It says, "Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all things will be added to you." Unfortunately, most people reverse it, and they seek all things that could be added to them, rather than to seek his kingdom and his righteousness, which just means being in right standing with God. And that was always the theme verse, and faith was first, and then there was work, and then there were sports. My dad feared that his boys, I have four boys and 1 girl in my family, feared that we wouldn't learn how to work because we didn't grow up on a farm. His biggest fear was that we wouldn't learn how to work. And he told us from a very young age, "Listen, we've got to work hard. You've got to save money for college. Me and Mom are not going to pay for you, so you got to work hard." So we mowed lawns. I did paper routes. People don't like cold calls. I used to do cold knocking. That's when you go and knock on a door, don't even know them, and had a little script where I said, "Hey, I'm with Leman Lawn Service. My name's Jay. I wanted to know, if you knew anybody that would like their lawn mowed." It's funny how 20 years later, I'm basically doing the same thing, but for a different product and service, right? And yeah, that taught me a lot, when I was growing up, was, how to take rejection. I got a ton of no's. But me and my brothers got that up to about 70 lawns a week, And some years we would make 30 or 40,000 bucks a summer, split 4 ways. But, I remember one time I made 150 bucks when I was 15 in one day. And I thought I was never have to work again. 150 bucks. I'd never seen that much money in my life. I was like, man, I can buy like 150 junior bacon cheeseburgers at Wendy's, because that's what my life was about then. Not now, but I was also not the best athlete, but I really like sports. In fact, when I was 14 years old, I ran I don't know if you guys know what a 40-yard dash time is, but a 40-yard dash time is basically how they measure. It's how they measure how fast you are if you're a football player. It's like kind of like the gold standard. And I ran a 40-yard dash time when I was 14 of 5.85 seconds, which is like so slow. I mean, like just slower than molasses in January poured out uphill. Like it's just like really slow. So I wasn't the best athlete, but I committed to getting better and better and better. I was a late bloomer and was able to play pretty well my junior and senior year in high school. And I didn't have any offers until like my second to last game of my high school season. And the University of Illinois said, hey, we've been watching you, how you're a good teammate and you make a lot of plays in the field. You're not the best athlete, but we're going to give you a scholarship. And I was the smallest linebacker on that team. And about that time, I started to really get into nutrition because I realized that if I'm going to go play at this level, when I got there as a freshman, I was the smallest linebacker, I needed to really understand how can I get any kind of edge, right? So, I mean, I looked up a book. I read a book called Natural Hormonal Enhancement, basically how to naturally get your body to have the effects of steroids. And I was into ketosis and fat burning back in 2004. I mean, people think this is new stuff. I've been on this. I was drinking 20 eggs a day, eating a pound and a half of red meat every day. I went from 200 to 245 pounds from 18 to 22, and stayed about the same speed and got faster actually. And so I went from being a little recruited player to making myself into an All-American linebacker in the Big Ten Conference, and then going on to the NFL. And that was just a product of just hard work and God's grace for sure. And I was never the best athlete, but I always believe in life and business. You can always outwork, out hustle, and outthink your competition. In football, how can you outthink? Well, you can out-prepare people. You got to know where to line up. You got to know the tendencies of a team. How can you outwork? That's really the work you put in during the offseason. And out-hustle is what you do during the game and during the season. And so the same is true for the business. How can we outthink the competition? We have great products and stuff, so we don't have to deal with the product side of it. But we are in the business of network marketing, which means we market products to our network, real simply. And so how can I be creative and think like the people I'm trying to market to think? How can I get inside their head, speak their language? How can I outwork? What does that look like? How do I pay my rent every day of, what is my activity that I'm going to hit? Whether it's 4 or 5 calls a day, whatever it is, it's 2 people a day, whatever your numbers you want to hit on. And then how do I out hustle? I think hustle is really that edge that, there's a fine line between closing somebody and not closing somebody. And I think you most see the hustle in closing and promoting events. It's like, are you really going after promoting, or you're really going after the close knowing this is the best thing for them, or you're just kind of playing it safe, like, it's probably not the right time. Or, I get it. Don't have anybody to watch the kids for a convention. And so hustle, I think, the difference between being a great closer and a great promoter and being a bad one is really that hustle, that edge, that belief that I put the personal development time in every day and I feel sharp and I have this unshakable belief, and it lets me push people over the edge, right? Because most people need a nudge in life, right? Most people aren't just decisive as they go. So that's really how that pans out. And so when I got into the NFL, I was a really good college player and I was a really average NFL player. It's just a totally different league. I played special teams. I put on 7 different teams in 4 years, got cut 7 different times. 7 different times head coaches told me, listen, you're not good enough to play. So I got a lot of no's in my life. I think that set me up for success later on. I got cut 7 times from my dream. People always told me no for mowing their lawn, but some people would say yes. But played 4 years, and I was into, and you guys know this, macronutrition. I knew protein, carbs, and fats, but nobody ever broke down micronutrition. I met a guy named Jordan Kemper in a weight room in 2009, and I was playing for the Carolina Panthers. He got me exposed to some of the USANA micronutrient products, the Essentials and BioMega, and I did feel a difference. I thought, wow, this is good stuff. I didn't quite understand the science of micronutrients. It wasn't nearly as prevalent as it is today. just information. And Jared, I know you would back this up. Just information about wellness on the internet today compared to even 5, 6, 7 years ago is probably tenfold. I mean, honestly, there's between all the different things you see of supplements and collagen protein and it's just, Randy, I know you're shaking your head too. It's just like, I mean, just totally, cat out of the bag. And so it's not surprising that even an NFL player didn't know about micronutrients. I knew I wanted a safe product. And so the $1 Million Pro Athlete Guarantee really got my attention because that was always my excuse to say no to stuff. I was like, no, it's not clean, because I got pitched all the time, like literally. But when you talk about the $1 Million Pro Athlete Guarantee, I was like, wow. And then, I like the product, but unfortunately my 4th year, I was playing for the Oakland Raiders, which is the program of greatness, supposedly, when you go there. It's had a bad rap the last 30 years or so. Quick story. My wife couldn't even go to the games because she got so much beer poured on her and F-bombs dropped that she was like, this is horrible. People like dressed up as Darth Vader and spikes on their shoulder pads. And it's a bad place to go, honestly. No offense against the people. They just celebrate football in a very, very weird way. Love you, Oakland, but I'm just glad I don't live in Oakland anymore. Anyway, I got hurt. I had 3 concussions in that season. And I made a really silly mistake. I was really close to making the team. I got a concussion. I didn't tell anybody. I played through it. And it led to another concussion that had me out for 2 or 3 weeks. And then 2 months later, I got a 3rd concussion, and that headache didn't go away. And I had a talk with my coach. He's like, hey, it's time to hang it up. And I cried. It was difficult. He gave 17 years to having a goal of playing professional football. And like that, it was done. And I had no idea what I wanted to do. Like, I'm an optimistic person, but when you're a football player, it's like, dude, of course, like this is my all in. I got to be all in. Like, there is no plan B. Kind of like if you want to be good in USANA, like you might have like your other job, but like, it's like, dude, like USANA is my thing. Like there is no plan B. There's no other company. There's no other product. Like, this is it. Like, there's nothing around. So, there wasn't a plan B, despite everybody telling me football would end. I was like, yeah, it'll end after like 13 years in a Pro Bowl career, but it's not going to end like after 4 years getting cut 7 times and 3 concussions. But, so I went through a really hard time. I went through actually some depression. I think now that I look back, I wouldn't have told you it was depression then, but just a grieving process in my life of something that I really loved and put a lot of work into was dead and gone. And at the same time, I was sick. I had a migraine every day. And I didn't know how to get better. Doctor wanted me to go on drugs. I didn't want to go on drugs. They didn't really have any answers then. They've come a long way in concussions now. But and I was about ready to go and sell insurance, to be honest. And the doctor said, I don't want you working full time. And they wanted me to work full time, the insurance. So I didn't do that. And so I was like, well, what can I do part-time? I was going to do some football announcing, which is part-time. And I remember, my brother called me and he had gotten actually exposed by somebody had pitched Amway to my brother. And I was like, my brother is a personal trainer. I was like, dude, if you're going to do like Amway does every product, no, not smash on Amway, but if like you're a trainer, like a physical trainer, a personal trainer, do wellness products, that's your thing. Like if you're going to do wellness products, you should take a look at USANA, talk to this guy, Jordan. So I talked to Jordan. I say, you should talk to my brother. He's interested. Well, I forgot. I really know network marketing. So if I tell him to talk to my brother or some of my brother, who's my brother Corey is going to talk to who first when he signs up? Me, right? Because he's like, wait a second. My brother just referred me this. He knows all about it. He played football. He's sick. So I was like, oh gosh. Like, because I was pretty anti-network marketing. I told Jordan, I was like, I just think it's a scam. Like, I just don't think it's legit, right? But I had enough respect for him and the product that I did send it over to my brother. But I was like, oh my gosh, now my brother's asking me, and now I've got this family thing. I'm like, I want to support my. Fine, I'll sit down. I'm like, great, And I had made a commitment. I had my son born in January of 2012, and I was just so insecure about being home, like sick, not doing anything, really insecure while my wife was working, that I promised myself that I was going to get a job by the end of her maternity leave. What ends up happening is I'm so desperate to do it, I actually agree to meet with Jordan Kemper on the day she goes back to work. because I'm like, I'm not doing anything. Not just I can't work full time. I got to do it part time. I meet with Jordan Kemper. He shows me what he's making. I'm like, this has got to be a scam. Yeah, but I know Jordan Kemper's a good guy. I think the product's good. So I'm like, sure, he's like, back then with the Pro Pack, he's like, you want to get paid like a pro, go with the Pro Pack. Oh, go with the Pro Pack, right? The product gets to my house. I probably let it sit there for a week. I'm like, do I want to return it? Do I want to do this? And then I was like, I just started taking some of the product. And then I was like, I heard about something called Platinum Pace Setter. So I was like, well, let me just get Platinum Pace Setter. I talked to my friends and family and get that. And I got that. I'm 2 months in. I went to this event called Next Level U. And it was in June at that time, not January like we have it now. But I went to this 2-day event and I was like, wow, like normal people actually do this. Like, it's not like I don't have to be like ashamed of being in network marketing, and so I was like, that's how I met like Dean Shonas and Dr. Steve. I was like, okay, like I'm fired up, right? First event, there's nothing like that first event fervor. I don't care how many events you go to. It's not like the first one that it really clicks. You're like, oh, I found it, right? Like, you know what I'm talking about. I love events, but there's that first event. So anyway, I go, the next week I go director. I make $700 in 1 week. And I'm like, oh, dude, I'm on. Then I'm like, he's like, you got to go to convention. I'm like, I don't want to go to convention. That's a pep rally. I hated pep rallies as a player. He said, you got to go. So I go, I bring one person with me to convention. And I get my mind blown. It was the 20th anniversary celebration. I'm like, I'm going to bring a bunch of people here next. 2 weeks later, I went silver after convention. But then, so notice a theme here after events, okay? And so I brought 0 people to my first event, 1 person to my second event. And then my head starts feeling better about 6 to 9 months on the product. I start to see my migraines start to go away. Just some non-compliant, just glory for you right there. Because we all need some of that. And what ends up happening is I decide that I'm going to get a bunch of people to Next Level U, which was in January. I got 13 people to that event, and 3 weeks later I went gold. Then I decided, you know what? I got to bring 30 people to convention. So I brought 30 people to convention, then went Ruby 2 weeks after that. Then I had a national celebration 6 months later. I think it was in California. I think I brought like 5 people, but I still got people out there. And it was, I went Emerald a week after that. And then I had another year where there was another national celebration in Vegas. I brought 10, and then 2 weeks later went Diamond. And so that's been my growth track. And my lifestyle now is I work from home. We have 3 kids. My wife's at home. It's been a great journey. I think the first 4 or 5 years, first 4 years, I was really excited and passionate about USANA. And then I felt like over the last year, I haven't been as excited. And when you're not excited, your growth goes down because your team will always follow your mojo, right? And so for me, getting around teams that are growing, I'm not currently growing because I want to be real with you. This is an advanced call. I'm not going to act like it's all peaches and cream, right? You always want to get around people that are growing, like your guys' team and Jared's team. So that's why I'm here. And USANA is such a gift. That was really a lot of the backstory, what's kind of set up my success. And now you understand me on a different level rather than just the old 1-minute USANA story, which I would pitch on a phone call or something. But that's kind of my history. That's my story. I open up for questions now.
Love your story, Jay.
Yeah, buddy.
I didn't know that about the 3 concussions in one season, and I thought you ended on the Minnesota Vikings, not the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah, the Vikings was a couple years before that.
Oh, okay.
Vikings, Chargers, Vikings, Carolina Panthers, Eagles, Chargers, back to the Vikings, back to the Chargers, then to the Raiders.
Awesome, man. So my question is, what was your biggest challenge, or what has been your biggest challenge in your USANA business? What was something that was just like you almost considered quitting because it was so hard? And how did you overcome it?
Okay. Well, I think it's twofold. One, when I first started, I think it's getting that initial surge of belief in USANA. That's the number one thing in network marketing. Getting that, not USANA, I should say network marketing, and having the courage to do that, number one. Number 2, for me, I just felt like the first, 6 months probably, I had one guy that was really committed, but I couldn't get a team. I couldn't get like a team. I couldn't get other people excited about it. And what I noticed is that people were watching me And like after being excited for 6 to 9 months, I kind of hit that sweet spot in January 2013 where I got like, probably 8 to 10 people to join me in a month. And that was like, that clicked, right? So when you get that, people are watching and whatnot. And then when you stick with it and you remain excited, that's what attracts people to you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So it was overcoming the lull or when you were working hard and just not getting a bunch of results.
Right.
And then you broke through and started to attract some people.
Yeah, I started attracting when I got those 8 to 10 people. And again, it was all based around events if you listen to my story.
Yeah.
And not just going to an event, but really being intentional about promoting. I see the whiteboard in the back there, Jared, but just, being intentional about getting people to events is just so critical, And I just would encourage people, if you want to create momentum, that's the best way is to recruit new people and get them to an event.
Absolutely. Events. In fact, we have USANA University coming up in San Antonio in 2 Saturdays. So
come on, let's go.
How was it in Chicago?
I was not in Chicago because I was actually announcing a football game.
Oh, you were announcing a football game.
Yeah. So I talked to Lori about that. I said, Lori, I have a committed. I had that weekend actually blocked off, and then Hurricane Irma canceled a bunch of football games and then rescheduled a bunch of football games.
Okay.
I was on the
right. You're an announcer for the Big Ten?
Yeah, the Big Ten Network. I announce football games. So it's another career that I've always wanted to do. And so I was actually doing that part-time with USANA when I started. I built that up as well. So it's good other than the fact in the fall from September to November, I can't make every event. But it does give me a feel for how – I think it really helps me with how part-timers do this business.
Yeah.
You forget, right? So I work 4 days a week with Big Ten Network. That's a lot, that's a lot of days in the fall for 3 or 4 months. And, I don't grow as fast as I do in the spring, but I always am trying to gain ground no matter what. I think if you're gaining, you're feeling good. If you're not gaining, you're not feeling good.
Yeah, absolutely. Great advice. So we have 3 minutes left. Who has a question for Jay? You can type in the chat box or unmute yourself or text me. Who wants to ask Jay a question?
I have one.
Okay.
What's been your key or what's your strategy for promoting events? What do you do to have success on getting people to events?
Yeah. So I would make a list kind of like this. This is basically I know you can't read this, but so this is revenue generating activity on this side. And then this is just like, garbage stuff. Send this email, check my auto orders stuff. Not garbage. I'm going to say that.
Yeah.
Not vital stuff, right? But I would put like my promoting events, like I would put the names of my associates, right, on my legs, kind of like Jared has. And I would say this. You have always got to keep closing your associates to everything. Like closing is not a skill just for new people. Closing is a skill for all of your associates to every event. And they're not closing. They got the ticket, the plane ticket, and the hotel, and they walk in the meeting that first day. Because I've had people come to convention and not come to convention. Like they're at convention, but then they don't come to like, dude, you didn't come to general session. Oh, yeah, I wanted to see, like, the Book of Mormon play. I was like, what? I about flipped out. So, yeah, lesson learned. I didn't close them all the way into the building. Whoops, right? Like, we're always expecting people to act like adults, and rarely do we act like adults. We don't, like, say, yeah, I'll be there and I'll show up on time. That's about 5% of the population. Everybody else, you got to handhold. You got to kind of want it for them. Sorry. That's just what it is.
Love it. We have another question from Solomon Castillo in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He says, what do you do for gaining ground part-time? That seems to be the greatest problem I've had since starting USANA.
I think that's a great question. I think, first of all, you've got to separate yourself and not, comparison, according to Teddy Roosevelt, is a thief of joy. You can never compare yourself to anybody in business, but especially people that are full-time. It's just not realistic. Listen, if somebody can give 40 hours and somebody can give 4 hours, I don't care what your math is, okay? You just don't have enough time to really grow your business at the rate they do. So knock off all comparison, number one. Number two is this: quality over quantity of exposure. So let me give you an example. Some people would say, and I've made this mistake, just go text 50 people and see who bites. Well, then you can burn through 50 contacts. What if you just said, you know what? I want a one-on-one Skype meeting with 4 people over the next 4 weeks. I want one really good contact where I can talk to them, I can explain the products, I can go in depth, I can, if they want me to send a sample of Nutrimeel or send a product booklet, I can, or meet with them for coffee or whatever it is. Think quality rather than quantity, because there'll be a time and a place for quantity, but even if you brought in a bunch of people, you can't serve them the way they need to be served to get started. So I'm a big believer in quality, especially for new people. Like, I'll be honest, like I'm one of those guys, like total Eric Worre guy, get your top 200 and text them, blah, blah, blah. And what I found is that might work to a degree, but you burn through a lot of context. What if you took your top 20 and said, in the first 8 weeks, I want to have a sit-down conversation either via Skype or Zoom or in person, and it's just my goal to talk to those 20. Because if you talk to those 20 in a quality way and they have more questions, you can get them to Jared or another upline member, that's a quality exposure. And I would say out of 20, 10 of those have become customers or associates or referral partners. And now you're feeling pretty good about yourself rather than texting 100, 200 people in your first 8 weeks and getting 5 people to get a meeting and 1 or 2. You know what I mean? So quality over quantity when you're doing part-time.
Ooh, I love it. All right, last question is from Denise Garcia in San Antonio, or in Floresville, Texas, actually. She says, what is your strategy for obtaining associates?
Well, I think it really comes down to what this, what it said in the very beginning of this broadcast. Amateurs sell products and professionals sell the vision. There's no way you can get associates if you're a product salesperson. You have to have a compelling vision about where you're going and what's in it for them. And so if you want to be the top PC enroller, talk about products, honestly. And I think you have to sell the vision of True Health if you're a PC enroller, so I'm not necessarily going to badmouth it like that. But everybody knows if you want leveraged income, you can get residual income from just customers. But there's a difference between residual income and leveraged residual income. I can get residual income from having 10 customers on auto order. I can get leverage residual income by having 10 associates with 10 customers on auto order, right? So there's people think that's the same thing. That's not the same thing. It's completely different. One is all about addition. The other one's about multiplication, okay? So now I don't need to go back to second grade to tell how much more powerful multiplication is, right? Now, when you douse in promotion with that, that's when it becomes exponential. So there's 3 levels, it's addition, multiplication, and exponential. But exponential only happens when you get all those associates to come to an event with promotion, right? So, but your question is, how do you do associates? I lead with the business, default to product. That's just the way I am. And there's sometimes we have campaigns with products and stuff like that. We're doing a Fit for Fall right now. That's really not my style. I like to lead with the business. I mean, the number one line I've used to recruit people is, hey, Jim, I know you're great at real estate, but do you keep yourself open to other streams of income outside of real estate? I mean, that's it. Or, hey, Jim, I've got a huge thing I'm working on this next year. I'm trying to bring in my class of 2018. I want to sit down with you for 20 minutes, see if it's for you. If not for you, then maybe somebody you know. My lines are really, really vanilla. There's no thinking about them because I can't think that hard. Does that make sense?
I love it. Great lines. I'm going to transcribe those.
Real simple. I always say an 8-year-old has to do it right. According to, what's his name? He wrote Beach Money. Jordan Adler. He says if an 8-year-old can't do it, it's not duplicatable. And this is about Duplicate Success International. So
that's right.
Let's go. I even got Randy to give me a laugh on that. Wow. Randy gave me the smile. Steve still got a stone. Oh, Steve with the smile. Yeah, I feed off what you guys look like. That's why I need to see faces, you know.
Love it.
I see you over there, Denise Garcia. And Jared Harris hanging out, doing mail, making some Marie Calendar. Whatever that is.
I don't know. What are you doing, Jared? What is that?
I can't hear you, Jared.
Ham sandwich. That's what I'm cooking.
Oh, sandwich. Okay.
Okay. Cooking a ham sandwich. Yum.
All right. Well, this concludes the webinar. Jay, I want to thank you so much for taking your time to be with us today, for sharing your story, sharing with us like the real story, the whole story. It's amazing to know. I never knew any of those things. And the great strategies and tips at the very end were really, really awesome. I'm going to be watching this recording. And so I want to just encourage everyone to go out there, make it a great USANA day, and let's go ahead and unmute the lines. Everybody say, thank you, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
Peace out, brother.
Peace out.
Have a good one.
Yeah, I like the smiles. Yeah. All right. See you guys.